see this massive revenue that we can gain from tariffs as well, which will create the external revenue service. So that's a definitive goal for sure.
At 27, Karoline, the press secretary and a new mother, had become a national lightning rod after Judge Charles Hargrove fined her $500 for wearing a silver cross necklace in his courtroom, branding her a fanatic and declaring faith unwelcome in the halls of justice. The incident, a fleeting moment in a routine hearing, had spiraled into a cultural firestorm. Its ripples felt from Washington's corridors to the heart of American discourse. Her office, a nexus of strategy and resolve, hummed with the faint buzz of a news ticker on a muted television, its headlines cycling through the growing scandal. Karoline adjusted her navy blazer, its crisp lines a quiet armor against the public scrutiny she now faced, and her fingers brushed the silver cross at her neck, its cool weight a symbol of her faith and defiance. The laptop screen glowed with X posts under the hashtag #JusticeForFaith, a digital arena where supporters rally behind her, their messages a chorus of solidarity. While critics accused her of exploiting religion for political gain, their vitriol fueled by Hargrove's defenders. She had spent the night compiling a dossier, court records, witness statements, and a list of 250 cases where Hargrove had fined individuals for religious symbols, each document a brick in the foundation of her $800 million lawsuit against the judge. The air was thick with the scent of fresh ink and the promise of a reckoning. Social media pulsed with frenetic energy, the hashtag #FaithNotFined gaining traction as commentators, faith leaders, and everyday citizens debated the clash between judicial authority and personal belief. Karoline's decision to sue Hargrove, a veteran judge known for his iron grip on his courtroom, had been a calculated risk, born of a conviction that his actions were not isolated but part of a broader campaign to suppress religious expression. Her media strategist, Jake Torres, had sent a text confirming an urgent team meeting, his message radiating a confidence that steadied her nerves. The office, typically alive with ringing phones and hurried footsteps, stood silent, its stillness amplifying the weight of her mission. This was no personal vendetta. It was a challenge to a system that dared to penalize faith. Karoline's gaze drifted to the window, where the Capitol's monuments stood resolute under a clear spring sky, their permanence a reminder of the stakes she faced. Critics had seized on her youth and motherhood, questioning her audacity to confront a judicial titan, their attacks a veiled attempt to discredit her resolve. Yet she saw their barbs as fuel, a chance to expose a judge whose rulings had silenced countless others. The silver cross felt warm against her skin, grounding her as she organized her dossier, its heft a tangible manifestation of her determination. She stepped out of the office, the click of her heels echoing in the empty hallway, her heart pounding with a mix of apprehension and purpose. The city's rhythm greeted her, its pulse syncing with her steady stride as she moved toward a confrontation that promised to redefine the boundaries of justice and faith in America. The federal courtroom in Washington, D.C., pulsed with a restless energy, its polished wooden benches packed with reporters, activists, and spectators, their eyes fixed on Karoline Leavitt, who sat at the plaintiff's table. Her navy blazer stood in sharp contrast to the dark oak, the silver cross at her neck catching the glow of the chandeliers overhead, a quiet emblem of her defiance at 27. Across the room, Judge Charles Hargrove, clad in a severe gray suit, exuded an air of imperious confidence, his steely gaze radiating a challenge as he surveyed the room. The hearing commenced, and Hargrove's attorney launched into an aggressive opening, accusing Karoline of leveraging her White House press secretary role for political vengeance, dismissing her $800 million lawsuit as a baseless spectacle designed to inflame public sentiment. The gallery stirred, a murmur rippling through the crowd as television cameras captured every moment, their lenses trained on the unfolding drama. Karoline remained composed, her face an unyielding mask, betraying no hint of the fire kindling within her. Her fingers tightened around the silver cross, its familiar weight anchoring her as she absorbed the attorney's barbed accusations, each word a calculated attempt to discredit her. The spectators leaned forward, their anticipation palpable, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and the faint hum of recording devices. Hargrove, seated with a posture that suggested untouchability, appeared oblivious to the weight of his own actions, his smug demeanor unshaken as his attorney painted Karoline as an opportunist exploiting her faith for fame. The cameras zoomed in, unaware they were documenting the prelude to a counteroffensive that would shake the foundations of his authority. Karoline's hand moved deliberately to the folder before her, its contents, court records, witness affidavits, and a catalog of 250 cases where Hargrove had penalized religious symbols, representing months of meticulous preparation. She opened it slowly, her movements measured, her eyes scanning the documents as if to reaffirm their power. The gallery's murmurs grew louder, a mix of curiosity and tension, as spectators sensed a shift in the room's dynamic. Hargrove, his confidence unshaken, met her gaze briefly, his expression one of disdain, unaware that the evidence she held was a ticking bomb poised to unravel his legacy. The attorney's voice droned on, but Karoline's focus remained inward, her resolve hardening with each passing second, her faith a silent bulwark against the onslaught. The courtroom's atmosphere crackled, the spectators' reactions amplifying the stakes of a case that transcended a single fine. Karoline's composure, a stark contrast to the attorney's theatrical flourish, drew the camera's focus, their footage destined to flood news cycles. Her fingers lingered on the cross, its cool surface a reminder of the moment Hargrove had branded her a fanatic, a memory that now fueled her determination. The hearing adjourned for a recess, the gallery buzzing as attendees spilled into the hallways, their chatter a mix of speculation and awe. Karoline rose, her posture steady, her eyes sweeping the room one final time as she committed the scene to memory. Hargrove, already turning to confer with his attorney, paid her no mind, his arrogance a fatal miscalculation. She stepped into the corridor, the weight of her dossier a tangible promise of the battle ahead, her stride unwavering as she prepared to turn a judge's hubris into a public reckoning. The evening skyline of Washington, D.C. shimmered beyond the glass walls of Karoline Leavitt's office, its twinkling lights reflecting across a conference table where she convened her team. The sting of the courtroom confrontation with Judge Charles Hargrove still sharp. At 27, Karoline, the White House press secretary, channeled her resolve into a strategic offensive, her navy blazer a symbol of her unyielding determination. The office, a hub of calculated action, buzzed with urgency, the air heavy with the scent of fresh coffee and the rustle of documents as her team prepared to transform Hargrove's judicial overreach into a public indictment. Jake Torres, her media strategist, stood at a laptop, a folder of evidence in hand, as he replayed the courtroom footage, dissecting the defense attorney's accusations for vulnerabilities to exploit. Jake's screen glowed with X-posts under the hashtag Leavitt Fights, a digital battlefield where supporters demanded justice, their messages a rallying cry, while detractors labeled Karoline a religious agitator, their scorn echoing Hargrove's narrative. Jake initiated a secure call with Maya Chun, a freelance journalist whose investigative scoops had shifted public narratives in high-stakes cases. Maya, her tablet alight with analytics, proposed launching #FaithNotFind, a hashtag designed to reframe Karoline's lawsuit as a defense of religious liberty, its clarity crafted to ignite viral momentum. Karoline, her fingers grazing the silver cross at her neck, requested a forensic analysis of Hargrove's financial transactions, aiming to uncover ties to anti-religious organizations that could expose his motives. As Maya outlined her media strategy, Karoline's encrypted email pinged with a message from Linda Martinez, an anonymous court staffer who had witnessed Hargrove's operations. Attached was a file that sent a jolt through Karoline. Internal correspondence where Hargrove discussed erasing incriminating data from court servers to shield his record. Karoline forwarded the file to her team, her pulse quickening as she recognized its potential to unravel the judge's facade. The discovery transformed the office into a war room, its glass walls mirroring the team's shared focus. Karoline, her resolve hardening, understood this was not merely about her $500 fine, but about defending the religious freedom of millions targeted by Hargrove's rulings. Jake leaned over his laptop, compiling a dossier of Hargrove's past cases, his fingers swift as he flagged rulings that penalized religious symbols, a pattern of bias stretching back years. Maya's tablet flashed with mock-ups of social media posts, each pairing Hargrove's courtroom actions with Karoline's poised defiance, a visual rebuke of his authority. Linda's file, now printed and annotated, lay at the center of the table, its contents a blueprint for exposing a judge's abuse of power. The team worked late, their concentration unbroken, driven by a shared vision of justice. Karoline's gaze drifted to the window, the city's lights a beacon of possibility, her cross a reminder of her faith's enduring strength. With Jake's media expertise, Maya's investigative reach, and Linda's damning evidence, they were poised to strike at Hargrove's legacy, ready to turn a courtroom fine into a public triumph for religious liberty. The federal courtroom in Washington, D.C., thrummed with an electric tension, its high ceilings and polished wooden benches amplifying the restless energy of a packed gallery where journalists, activists, and spectators filled every seat, their cameras and smartphones casting a faint glow as they live-streamed a trial that had captivated the nation. Karoline Leavitt sat poised at the plaintiff's table, her navy blazer impeccable, its sharp lines underscoring the fierce resolve she carried at 27. Her eyes burned with determination, the silver cross at her neck glinting under the courtroom's chandeliers, a silent testament to her faith. Across from her, Judge Charles Hargrove slumped at the defendant's table, his gaunt frame clad in a gray suit, his hands trembling slightly, the faint pallor of his face betraying a man unraveling under the weight of his own actions. The air was thick with anticipation, the rustle of notebooks and the soft whir of recording devices underscoring the gravity of a moment poised to redefine justice. Jake Torres, Karoline's media strategist, stepped forward with a commanding presence, his folder brimming with evidence as he began his presentation, projecting a series of Hargrove's emails onto a large screen. The correspondence, obtained through Linda Martinez's whistleblower leak, revealed a chilling plan to erase court data to protect his reputation, with explicit orders to delete records of 250 cases involving fines for religious symbols. The gallery gasped as Jake displayed audio recordings, their crackling audio capturing Hargrove's voice directing staff to wipe servers, each word a self-inflicted wound to his credibility. The spectators shifted in their seats, their murmurs swelling into a low hum as the depth of his misconduct was laid bare, the cameras zooming in to immortalize the unraveling of a judicial titan. Linda Martinez, a former court staffer turned whistleblower, took the stand, her testimony measured but devastating as she recounted how Hargrove manipulated the judicial system to suppress religious expression, pressuring clerks to enforce his rulings without question. Her words, delivered with quiet conviction, sent ripples through the room, the journalists scribbling furiously, their pens racing to capture the dismantling of Hargrove's authority. Outside, the chants of protesters, Karoline for truth, rose in a rhythmic crescendo, their voices filtering through the courtroom's walls, a relentless tide of public outrage amplified by the hashtag #FaithNotFine campaign that dominated social media. Hargrove, his fists clenched, stared at the screen, his face a mask of panic as Jake unveiled financial transactions, their ledgers confirming his funneling of funds to anti-religious groups through shell companies, evidence that stripped away his veneer of impartiality. Karoline watched, her hand tightening around her silver cross, its cool surface grounding her as she absorbed the weight of the moment. Jake leveled a searing accusation, charging Hargrove with systematic violations of religious freedom, his voice steady but forceful, each point a nail in the coffin of the judge's defense. The audience erupted in shouts, their outrage spilling over as court officers struggled to restore order, their commands drowned by the chaos. Jake remained unflinching, his presentation a relentless barrage that dismantled Hargrove's legacy with surgical precision, each piece of evidence a testament to the power of truth over power. Hargrove, overwhelmed, buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking as his once imperious confidence collapsed, his silence a tacit admission of defeat under the courtroom's unforgiving scrutiny. The courtroom's atmosphere shifted from tension to a charged reckoning. The spectators' reactions a mix of disbelief and vindication as they witnessed a judge's fall. Karoline sat steady. The morning after the trial's seismic verdict bathed Washington, D.C. in a gentle, golden light, its soft rays filtering through the city's monuments as if heralding a transformative shift in the fabric of justice. The jury had declared Judge Charles Hargrove guilty on all charges, ordering him to pay substantial reparations and stripping him of his judicial title, a historic rebuke that echoed beyond the courtroom's walls. Karoline Leavitt, at 27, had not only secured a personal victory, but had ignited a national movement. Her $800 million lawsuit inspiring the swift passage of a federal law safeguarding religious freedoms, a legislative triumph that enshrined protections for symbols of faith across the nation. Social media erupted in a jubilant frenzy. The hashtag Leavitt Triumph dominating X. Its posts a tidal wave of celebration, while a video of Jake Torres's courtroom presentation, meticulously unveiling Hargrove's misdeeds, amassed 30 million views, each frame a testament to the power of evidence over authority. The protests that had besieged the federal courthouse transformed into vibrant celebrations, with thousands converging in a nearby park, their placards proclaiming "Faith prevails" in bold colors, a vivid mosaic of triumph under the spring sun. Karoline took the stage on a wooden platform, her navy blazer catching the sunlight, her silver cross glinting as a beacon of her unbroken resolve. Her eyes shone with dignity as she addressed the crowd, her gestures conveying gratitude to the coalition of supporters, faith leaders, civil liberties advocates, and ordinary citizens who had rallied behind her mission. The crowd, a diverse tapestry of communities united by a shared demand for justice, roared in approval, their voices a harmonious chorus, their signs a pledge to uphold the freedoms Karoline had fought to protect. Major news networks amplified the moment, with CNN hailing Karoline as a defender of liberty, their analysts dissecting her campaign with reverence, while Fox News crowned her a hero of faith, a rare cross-partisan nod to her impact. In stark contrast, Hargrove secluded himself in his Georgetown apartment, the blinds drawn as he watched the news unfold on a flickering television, his face a hollow mask of defeat, his once formidable presence reduced to a shadow of regret. His legacy, meticulously built over decades, lay in ruins, his name now synonymous with judicial overreach. Jake Torres returned to the Washington office, where an email from a religious freedom activist awaited, its words brimming with gratitude for his role in reshaping the legal landscape. Jake pinned the letter to a wall beside a framed copy of the new law's text, a quiet monument to their collective triumph. Karoline stood at her office window, the city's skyline stretching before her, its lights a constellation of hope and possibility. The passage of the religious freedom law had sparked immediate action. States like Texas and Florida adopted complementary statutes, while advocacy groups launched campaigns to educate communities about their newly enshrined rights. Universities invited Karoline to speak, her story now a cornerstone in legal studies curricula, a case study in confronting systemic bias. Her focus remained forward, her mind envisioning a future where faith could flourish without fear of retribution. Her fingers brushed the silver cross, its familiar weight a reminder of the moment Hargrove had found her, a memory now transformed into a catalyst for change. Social media continued to pulse with her name, alight with posts that celebrated her as a trailblazer. The hashtag Faith Not Find joined by hashtag Freedom Rising, a growing call for broader protections. The victory belonged not just to her, but to every individual whose beliefs Hargrove had penalized. A mother fined for a hijab, a student barred for wearing a prayer emblem, a worker punished for a Buddhist necklace. The park celebration evolved into a festival of unity, with interfaith leaders joining hands on stage, their presence a powerful rebuke to division. Karoline's image, captured in a viral photograph, standing resolute with her cross gleaming, became a symbol of resilience, shared millions of times with captions declaring her the light of justice. Hargrove, alone in his apartment, sifted through a pile of legal notices, his hands trembling as he confronted the reality of his fall. The news channels, once platforms for his authority, now dissected his crimes, their reports a relentless reminder of his exposure. A letter from a former colleague, expressing disappointment, lay unopened on his desk, its presence a final sting to his pride. In Karoline's office, Jake and the team reviewed a flood of messages from supporters, each one a story of empowerment. A teacher who wore her cross to school without fear, a young man who reclaimed his right to pray publicly. The dossier, once a weapon of confrontation, now rested in a locked drawer, its purpose fulfilled, its pages a record of a battle won. Karoline's gaze lingered on the horizon, the city's pulse syncing with her own. The law's passage marked a turning point, but she sensed a broader mission unfolding to ensure that no one would face the persecution she had endured. Advocacy groups, inspired by her victory, began filing lawsuits against other judges with similar records, their efforts a ripple effect of her courage. The silver cross felt warm against her skin, a silent vow to her faith and her supporters. Social media analytics showed #Leavitt Triumph climbing higher, its reach extending globally as stories of religious oppression from Europe and Asia cited her case as inspiration. The office, once a war room, now buzzed with plans for a national campaign to educate citizens about their rights, a legacy Karoline intended to nurture. The park, now a symbol of victory, glowed with evening light as families gathered, their prayers and songs a testament to the freedoms Karoline had secured. Her presence, though absent from the scene, lingered in the air, her story woven into the fabric of their celebration. The courtroom, once a battleground, stood silent, its echoes of justice resonating in the laws, now protecting millions. Karoline, standing alone at her window, felt the weight of her journey, her heart swelling with quiet pride. The victory over Hargrove was not an end, but a beginning, a spark that had ignited a movement uniting people across faiths and borders in a shared demand for truth and fairness. A new era where faith and justice could stand unbowed.
If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Your support helps us keep sharing powerful stories that matter. What did this story mean to you? Let us know below.